I will probably never understand fashion, both in real life and in anime business. Whenever I hear about some new fashion show in the real world, I almost always only see designs that are either nothing that special or look like some very elaborate money laundering scheme. Who knew that out of two popular anime subgenres of VRMMO and, let's call them siege animes, the former would prove to be more stubborn than the latter? Mayhaps it's because more people are playing games these days, so a certain demand for anime MMOs exists. I personally choose to believe that it's popular because it's basically isekai but without commitment. The fuck this show, I ain't gonna pronounce this name, is a 12-episode VR MMO anime created by Studio Silverlink that tells us about a girl that plays a VR MMO while others are weirded out by this weird foreign concept of playing it like a normal human being. I always hated this in these VR MMO games. The main character does nothing but playing the game as intended, yet people are always yelling, "Cheat! Hacks! Is this even fair?" like they were just PvPing and grinding the entire fucking game without ever doing a single quest. Though considering that this is a Japanese, possibly General Asian server, that may very well be the case. This is another anime whose basic premise is in the obnoxiously long title. The girl doesn't want to get hurt, dumps literally everything into one game stat, breaks the game via using quote-unquote unorthodox tactics, which I call bullshit. Using unorthodox tactics is when by holding a low-level monster and jumping, the player can clip through other players, causing the collision mechanics to glitch, and the game treats it as if the targeted player just jumped off a 15-storied building head down, not when the girl uses things coded into the game pretty much as they're intended. Other than that, though, it is a comedy where the main joke is that Maple, the main heroine, does zany shenanigans and all that other junk. Admittedly, though, the humor of this show isn't that offensive, just typical for a comedic anime, but the voices are nice and they never just scream their lungs off. The chat in the end of a sketch is a very nice addition, and though a few years ago I would have probably called it a bit unrealistic, having seen gaming forums lately, I can assure you that it's pretty much spot on, only with much less porn. The graphics are nice, but feel a bit cheap, somewhere on the middling but better side of the spectrum. The music is about 2 or 3 forgettable tracks on a loop that aren't bad, but neither do I want to download them separately. Probably my biggest problem with the anime is the MMO itself. By no means a bad one, strictly speaking. It's a pretty generic Asian fantasy MMO with all the Asian fantasy MMO tropes. The weirdly ornate, goofy-looking armor, the generic monster design that sometimes look like they've been using different assets from different games tone-wise, the generic class system somewhat reminiscent of either Final Fantasy or Disgaea, which is probably a deliberate choice, the weird mix of fantasy and other elements that make it look goofy and tone-deaf. You know, that reminds me, if I were to create an MMO, I would have wanted 2 things from it. One is equality. One of the reasons why I like old roguelike games so much is because in a lot of them you were obeying the same rules as everyone else. If an NPC could be infected with a zombie virus, you could be infected with a zombie virus. If you could enslave an NPC via a magical spell, an NPC could do the same to you as well. It's a fun thing that provides a lot of interesting options gameplay-wise. Maybe some special classes or rules could be hidden into this, like for example being able to turn into a werewolf or a vampire by being bitten by one. 2 are professions that require more involvement from the player. A blacksmith, for example, could have a minigame where he would have to smelt ore into a shape and then hammer it into completion, or a lockpicker could have a minigame where he would have to first identify the type of lock. Each lock has either different types of lockpicks or process to open it. Of course, the minigames shouldn't be tedious and overly detailed, and there has to be a way to skip them, preferably after unlocking certain masteries, but it would generally make profession systems in games a lot more interesting and possibly even more useful. And no, I'm not recording this 2 days after I've watched it and the anime is so forgettable and banal that I've forgotten the vast majority of it and now just blathering on about a topic I'm actually interested about. Where was I? Oh, that's right. Overall, the anime isn't bad, for a comedy anime that is. It's light, easy to watch, you'll probably have at least a bit of a laugh, and then forget that you ever watched it in the first place, occasionally wondering where have I seen these characters, commonly depicted in these memes young people do.